Hello, athletes
Hello.
and fans of bodybuilding. Yes, we are so excited. This is live on Olympia TV. My name is Wendy Fortino, and I'm joined by my host, Camile Periat. Both of us are Olympians. I am figure. She is bikini. She's also a judge. But we are here for a very special guest. We have the one and only Dr. Sunny Andrews. She is fresh off of her Chicago Pro win on her way to the 2024 Olympia. Sunny, I was going to call you Olympia.
I'm great.
Olympia. How are you?
I'm good. I can probably say that I've never been better. Going into this prep and coming off of that win has felt better than any other win in bodybuilding or any other sport that I've competed in my whole life. So I'm really excited.
Oh man!
Wow, that's a big statement.
Yeah, and I didn't even think about it twice. It just comes off naturally. I really am happy to be in the spot that I'm at right now.
Awesome. I want to talk about all of that because, the thing is, you have a huge following. You have a lot of fans and, a lot of people have been rooting for you. And if I'm not mistaken, you have been a part of the wellness division since its inception, correct? You've been since.
That's right. Since day one, yeah. My first show was 2020. September 2020 was my first wellness regional show where I qualified. And then I got my pro card at Nationals in December. And then made my pro debut at the Pittsburgh Pro. And I was one of the first, the 2021 was the first time the Olympia had wellness. And I was there. That's the place.
That's so cool. Really fast going, before we kind of dive into your story, tell us a little bit about just how your experience with how the wellness division has evolved since you started, because you've literally seen it from day one to now. What have you noticed about the evolution of it?
I think that the evolution of wellness, so we got the category from Brazil, and that was what everyone was building it off of, more of a curvy physique, lower body dominant. And then as we brought it to the US, I think people were trying to, probably 2022 to 2023, they were just size, it's going to be bigger is better. And I really appreciate what they've done with the wellness division, with what they've been awarding and keeping it more of a feminine. And they're it's not just size that's rewarded. It's the aesthetics, and they want to really have a criteria that meets the division. So I think that it started to go in one direction and then they reeled it back in. And you can see, just like Isa and Franciale, they have a very feminine look. And I think that's kind of, they've kept it there. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah. So can you explain for the viewers who are not so familiar with the wellness division, what are you referring to about that? Because a lot of people agree that, or think that it's, the biggest glutes and the biggest legs, but there also is the factor of, and wellness is unique because it's the unsymmetrical division from bottom to top, but you need to have balance within your legs. So maybe explain a little bit more about streamlining the size and what they're looking for.
Yeah. So with wellness, what's different from bikini is you can have a little bit more muscle mass in your legs and glutes compared to your upper body. So if you're going to have a more symmetrical physique, categories like either figure, if you're leaner, or bikini, if you're not as lean, are good options for you. But with wellness, it's you have more mass on your lower half for sure. You're a little bit more lean than bikini. But the thing is, if you're just trying to gain size everywhere, doing a lot of compound movements in the gym, you're going to end up just kind of getting big everywhere, including your upper body. So with wellness, it's really specific training to try and make sure that you just focus on growing your lower body, and then, don't get muscular absolutely everywhere and outgrow the category, because there's definitely people where I think that they have absolutely incredible physiques, but they become too big and then they lose that feminine shape, because it really is. I mean, even in Brazil, they used to call it wellness bikini or bikini wellness. So it was just kind of like the evolution of bikini, where you're supposed to still have that feminine features and you're not really supposed to be cross-striated and super shredded, kind of be a diva on stage. And it's hard. And I'll say this because I did become very muscular at one point. It's much harder to pose in a very flowing feminine way if you get too boxy. I mean, mind you, the women's physique posers do a phenomenal job of that. But I think when you're just lower body dominant, trying to like walk, sometimes if you're too big, it becomes hard.
No, I think
this is a good question we just got.
Yeah, I just saw this. Hey girls, question. And Sunny, we'll let you take this question.
Awesome.
Is it a bad idea to train obliques? I want to have a thinner waist and I have been getting mixed answers. So I can only speak from my personal experience and what I have done I'm very short. So any type of muscularity I'm going to add to my waist, I think would take away from my physique. And my obliques are kind of developed just through compound movements because I've been doing sports my whole life. So if I were to train obliques, I think it would make my waist and my whole look kind of thrown off. I've never trained obliques specifically. I'll do some body weight exercises for abs, but training obliques is, I think, kind of detrimental to your whole look.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think a lot of people think that it will tighten the sides, but actually you're adding muscle. So you're making your waist wider. And for wellness, for bikini, for figure, every division, you want to have a very small waist. So I think most athletes, maybe you guys train differently, but when I was competing in bikini, I actually I hardly ever trained abs because you're activating them so much in your compound exercises anyways.
Yeah. I'll just tack onto that and I'll say, with bodybuilding, you're creating a work of art, right? So it's about what you're training to create and also what you aren't training so that you can atrophy, because you're building and trying to atrophy, because it's about creating and taking away so that you can create that perfect shape. Basically, it's non-functional training. So when you're training for performance, you want to function. When you're training for aesthetics, you may not be as functional, because thick obliques help with running, they help with cycling, they help with functional sports to perform better, but obliques won't make you look, hourglass, streamlined.
We train pretty muscle.
Right. We're trying to look pretty.
I could not have said that better. That is exactly bodybuilding. You're not really training for anything except ratios and, aesthetics. So
yes,
you have to play the game. You have to know. And sometimes it is actually easier to atrophy a muscle group in order to make something that's lagging look better, instead of just trying to bring up everything, because trying to bring up everything, you're really not going to hold on to the aesthetics, like you said.
Yeah,
look at how incredible you look. You look amazing. So Sunny, you started the show by telling us how this was the best win feeling, and it was such a great prep. You've been competing, you've been a very successful pro athlete. What made this prep different? And tell us a little bit more about that. What was different this time?
Yeah.
So for me, this is redemption. I started off in the category. I was one of the first, definitely one of the first most successful American wellness competitors. And
your sister said you're the top ranking USA competitor.
I don't know if that's true or not currently, but when I started, it definitely was. I placed 6th at the first Olympia, and I got a New York Pro win and a Pittsburgh Pro win. So it was really great. And it all happened really fast. So I was just kind of overwhelmed, and I felt on top of the world. And not that I didn't work hard for it, but it really happened so fast. So I don't think I could truly internalize how incredible it was to be in that experience, to be in that position. But now I had some losses. I got last place, and I had to revamp my whole physique, take almost a year off. And
wait, I just have to stop you really fast, really quick. I just want to stop you on the last place. So when did you get last place? I don't want to brush over that one.
At the Arnold 2023, there was only 8 people. So if I go to someone and that doesn't know bodybuilding, I say I got 8th place at the Arnold, they're going to be like, wow, congratulations. Yeah. That's amazing. But then someone who like knows the show is like, okay, eighth place is last. So that was like, some of my worst placing. And it was my physique became unbalanced. I was really focused on training glutes. I had always kind of had big legs. I mean, because I had played soccer. So I trained glutes 3-4 times a week. And it ended up being detrimental to my physique. Like we had just previously talked about, it's about ratios, like one muscle next to another muscle and how they add up. So my last prep, I really just did a lot of cardio and really just tried to downsize. I competed in November of 2023 and I got 4th place. It was an okay look, but I was about 132 pounds on stage, 133. And then when I competed in Chicago and won, I was about 123. So I lost.
Whoa.
And from November to, to July. So it was really more about just shrinking and going back to the look that they had previously rewarded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you kind of brought up the elephant in the room, because at 2022 at that Olympia, there was definitely a significant change in your muscle size, the mass that you were carrying in your glutes. And it's interesting because after we talked to your sister recently and we've seen her pictures, we've seen, talking to you and seeing your progressions and how quickly it seems like both of you, the sisters, can put on muscle very quickly. Would you agree?
I would say that I would agree. However, I know how hard I work and my sister works. So in our minds, it's not easily. If I were to stop working out like a maniac, if I were to stop being an absolute psycho about going to the absolute ground with every single meal I eat 365 days a year, then maybe I don't know if I would look like this, but it's definitely by no accident. But if you ask our mom, we're like, our family is just the most muscular people. We have a nephew. My sister and I have a nephew. My brother is a child, and he's almost 10 months old, and he's jacked. So maybe we got the genetics. We don't know.
Well,
it's pretty amazing genetics. It really is, and it's clear that you guys have the body type that can add muscle easily, and that is, a lot of people wish they had that. So for you, you've had really the past, since that time at 2022 Olympia, you've been focusing on kind of like streamlining your physique and balancing it out.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of that. And if I can give any advice to people who are starting out, or even they're trying to improve their physique or anything like that, and they're thinking that they're lagging in a body group, it's just to give yourself some grace, because trying and overcorrect, because I came from winning the New York Pro.
Yeah.
To thinking I was like, this is my year. I'm going to do great at Olympia. And then getting on stage and not feeling like my best. I knew that it was not my best looks. And if I had just brought just the package from New York Pro, I know that I could have really showed up that year. But then I got in my own head, and my feedback from New York Pro was bring up your glute medius. And I just went crazy training. And, I think sometimes you have to take your feedback with a grain of salt and give yourself some grace, and realize that if you want to show and you're going into the Olympia, know that you really don't have that much to improve. Just try and be a little bit improved of what you brought.
Yeah, totally. It seems like a lot of times when athletes get feedback from judges, the judges are kind of comparing to what they see right there. Right. And if they say come in tighter, or maybe you were too full, or whatever the feedback was, I think a lot of times athletes will take that so further than it had to go. Where? Oh, in the middle?
The girl, the woman in the red, her and I think were the first pro athlete and client who competed in the same show, and she placed in the Chicago Pro.
That's
Ah,
awesome. And that's hard to do too. As a coach and athlete, it's a lot of fun, but it's also like it's kind of a weird feeling, huh?
It was really interesting because I'm peeking her and I am going to my coach's room. She came to my coach's room to do a check-in. My coach and I are both looking at her and like, you know,
this is her. Is this her?
Yes, this is her. She's,
Okay.
She's my friend. We've worked together for a long time. She just did the Tampa show today. She's won now 2 pro master shows. She did her
nice.
She's amazing. It was fun being with her backstage, but my initial response when she asked me about the Chicago Pro was, I don't know how the heck I'm going to do that. How am I going to peak someone and for the show that I'm doing? But then it just ended up happening and felt natural because I'm like, I told her backstage, we were holding hands and I was like, listen, we win. Because it was close. She got third. Yeah. I'm like, you win, I win, you win. This is like, you know, we're gonna have, there's no losing today is what we basically decided.
Yeah, that's cool. I actually have competed with one of my clients before a long time ago. It was her pro debut. I ended up winning that show. And it was, I was wanting her to have the best experience possible, but I was also wanting her to feel comfortable and like this is it was awesome, but it was also a little weird.
Yeah. I mean, there was it definitely felt different than any show I had ever done. And you know, usually I'm either with her with her backstage or I'm texting her like, this is what I want you to do to warm up. But now I'm like looking at her in person and I'm like also nervous in the zone. You know, I'm like, I got to get it. I know what I need to do to perform my best on stage and I need to do my whole little ritual. And like, it was kind of interesting balancing both for sure.
Isn't it like cool? Like, I feel like it goes so beyond the stage of competing and like, you know, trying to win a show. It's kind of like the test of like humanity, right? Because you're challenging yourself to not only compete and succeed, but also, you know, there are all these extra elements I feel like that build our character, that make us stronger, right? Like rooting for other women. I mean, that's something that I feel like we're always talking about in this industry, right? Yeah. And like the like true like test of the will to root for not only like another woman and to like pull back any of those like emotions that we have, but really to like run into the fire with that. You know, not only is it like an awesome woman, but it's like your client. So you're balancing like really like digging deep and really truly wanting this person to succeed and also wanting yourself to succeed. I think that's like the ultimate challenge that is really hard for a lot of people to do, but you're taking that challenge on. You know what I mean? I think that's cool.
And the thing is like, because I've specifically with Yami, because I've worked with her for 3 years, I know the ins and outs of her day. I know that she's a super mom. She's doing so many other things on the side. Yeah. So for me, it's really cool to see her have success in the sport. And even with someone I don't know, I know what it takes to become that lean, that jacked in a wellness category. You know, it's a lot of work. We're all doing the same thing. And at the very least, I respect how people look. You know, you may not know every single person on stage personally, like I know my client, but I know what it takes. Like the female who got second, she lives in Nice, France, but she's coached by my coach as well. And that was the first time I met her. And she's so sweet. She was so humble. She had no expectations going into the show, flew here from France, was like on no sleep, gets on stage and just kills it. Wow. Did an amazing And like, if you would have talked to her, she thought, you know, she was going we went to the athletes meeting together. She just kind of was like, oh, I'm here for fun, like whatever. I'm like, you almost won the show. You know, she's like, it's just crazy seeing how incredible some of these people are. And they, you know, they don't have any type of expectations going into it. It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Sometimes I know, like best shows though.
I know. I'm going to just push back a little bit. Do you remember like when you're in a like school, like high school or whatever, and like you walk in and it's like, you know, that like the teacher's going to do a bell curve and you have that like kid that comes into class is like, I didn't even study. I didn't even try. And then like they ace the test and like throw off the bell curve and you're like, screw you. You totally
I was never one of them. Sonny, you probably were one of those kids.
Oh yeah.
So before medical school, yeah, I think that was the case. But then once I got into medical school, it was a different story. I'm like, okay, I have to study, and things changed. So I went from being that person to not being that person. So I know both sides of that coin.
So what kind of what medicine do you practice?
I'm a physical medicine and rehabilitation resident right now. So it's kind of similar to sports medicines, and we do some pain therapy, but basically we see patients that have had strokes or car accidents or other types of things where they're not stable enough or not healthy enough to go back to their home from the hospital, but they still need a medical doctor and like 24/7 care. So they go to a rehab hospital. So right now, like during my residency, I'm in an inpatient rehab hospital, and I'm the acting physician or the resident physician there.
Yeah. So you are the doctor of the physical therapists, basically.
Sure. I mean, I'm not a physical therapist, but yes, under our care, like a PM and our doctor will coordinate the care, like the physical medicine or the therapy of all the different types of therapy, occupational therapy and physical therapy and speech language pathology for a patient that needs to go to a rehab hospital.
May I ask you? Oh, sorry, really fast. I just want to ask you really fast, okay? Because we talked to Marissa about this, and I'm hoping that you're willing to talk about this, because I think this is pretty widely shared opinion that a lot of people would probably want to get seen by you as a patient.
Let me say, I do not walk around the hospital like that.
Oh, I know.
I will pull my shirt down.
Check you out.
No, but you're still beautiful. You could be totally covered in a bag and you're still drop dead gorgeous. It's like you don't have to be showing your stomach for people to obviously notice that you're a beautiful, beautiful woman. Now, we had a little bit of the story from Marissa. There's a little bit of a name change that had to happen. Did you you want to like tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it was kind of funny. I initially, when I started my Instagram, and I told my parents that I was pursuing fitness endeavors, that I was, I'm like, I'm going to compete and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh my gosh, you don't want anyone in the medical world to know who you are. You're going to have to come up with an alias. And my nickname my whole life has been Sunny. So that was simple enough. And then no one could pronounce our last name Andreo anyways. So Andrews was simple. So I kind of just put that like 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
But that didn't last very long. It did not prevent any type of people knowing who I was. But then it stuck, and it's easier for people to pronounce. So I rolled with it. And then Marissa was like, I'm on board. We're the Andrews now. Let's go.
That's so cute.
I know. Can I just say that now that I can tell you face to face in person, something that I really admire about you, and I mean, this is just like an observational kind of assessment, is I absolutely love that you do what you do. You're a physician, you're a badass, you're beautiful, and you own it all. You don't like try to like hide behind anything or feel like you're not like allowed to be beautiful and sexy and do what you do. Like, this is, I think, like the epitome of like a badass woman, like as a woman, like we feel like, oh my God, in certain scenarios, we're not like allowed to be like beautiful and sexy. And like, we have to like fit all these molds, and you just kind of like do your own effing thing. You know what I mean?
Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know if that is I think it's kind of like a blessing and a curse. That's how I've always been, where I've just kind of been like, this is me and this is who I am. And I don't really know how to be any other way. But it feels good to kind of be my authentic self, especially in a public space. Sometimes I post goofy stuff on my stories, or I'm just being myself. And there's no hiding that. But, I think it would take a lot more effort to try and portray myself as someone I wasn't. I had my makeup done yesterday for a photo shoot I did. And it was like a question no one had ever asked me before. The makeup artist, Stephanie, you're amazing. She asked me, what is your alter ego? Being a doctor or being a bodybuilder? And And I didn't know, I was like, I never thought about that before. I was like, I kind of think like I'm my authentic self in both scenarios. And she's like, no, one of the two has to be your alter ego. And even today, driving to work, driving home, I'm like, okay, I don't know how to answer this. I don't know which one, which one am I? So then I just kind of came to the conclusion that it was like, I think both things are synergistic. And I don't think I really need to own one or the other. One is more of my real self or like alter ego self than the other, because when I'm at work, I'm still wearing my fit scrubs. People still know that I'm a bodybuilder. And when I'm on stage, people still know that I'm a doctor and I don't have to hide it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So how do you tell us like what your day looks like? We were hearing about Marissa, your sister's day, and it was like mind blowing. So what do you do to get show ready? I mean, you just got off stage, so you've been in the thick of it. Like, tell us what your day looks like and your routine, because it's pretty amazing what you guys do.
Well,
starting at 3 a.m.
I will say, yeah, for my prep for this show, we did 7 weeks of cutting. And during those 7 weeks, my coach, Chris, who got me in the shape that I needed to get in to win, had me doing 85 minutes on the Stairmaster every day.
Wow.
So that usually either consisted of me getting up and doing cardio before work or doing cardio, because he didn't care if it was fast. And he's like, just get it done, burn the 500 calories you need to burn, and that's it. But every single morning, no matter what, the night before, I pack my meals, I make my breakfast fresh in the morning, weigh them out, go to work, come home, do your cardio, do your lifting. And if I had a schedule that I knew every single day, that would be fantastic. But the way my job works at the moment, it all depends on how many patients I'm seeing, if there's new patients, if there's patients leaving. So I have to play everything pretty much by ear. I know what my morning is going to consist of, but by the time I get to work, it's, I could be leaving at one time or a different time. And basically I just kind of have to roll with it. For example, in that picture, I was supposed to be on PTO for my show. I requested it and everything. And sure enough, I'm getting calls in between prejudging and finals. Hey, you need to put in these, do these discharge summaries, or this is what's happening with your patient. So I got off stage and I had a whole bunch of messages that I had stuff that I had to do. So I'm like, I had my crown. My best friend took this picture and she's like, this is too funny. We have to document it.
But you wore your freaking crown. Hell yes.
I don't have time to take it off. This is how urgent it was. I was like, I have so many things. I had another interview and it was on my head. I had not changed. I was like, I have to sit down and do this immediately.
I love it. I love it.
Wow. That's amazing.
This is just like a badass picture. I mean, it says it all, really. This picture says it all. Look at this. Look at this woman. We got a crown. You're working. You're like doing all this stuff. I mean, seriously, does it get any more like quintessential than this? I don't think so. We've nailed it in this photo here.
Thanks. Yeah. That was a good weekend. The way I left, that was a whole crazy, the way that all worked out was crazy, because the only way I was going to be able to make that flight and get there on time was going straight from work. So I packed all of my stuff, my suitcases, went to work, went straight from work to the airport, went to the show. And then at the end of it, there was this crazy, I think it was Microsoft crash. And I had to fly all over the place, 1, 2, 3, 4 different cities to get home. I was supposed to get home, I think, on Saturday. I got home basically Monday morning. It
was a crowd strike crash.
It
was like global.
It was crazy. I never knew if I was going to get home ever again. But I went straight from work so basically I had not been to my house. I went to work and then went back to work, but I had my ring. So they're like, did you win? And I was like, yeah. I have this crazy ring right now. So at least they would believe me.
So Sunny, after the Chicago Pro and the one you did right before that, what was the feedback that you got from the judges? Are you on the right track that they were wanting you to achieve last year?
Yeah, so I was really fortunate. The reason I was adamant about doing, and my coach was adamant about me doing the Republic of Texas show, was because Tyler was the head judge. And it's always going to be beneficial to get feedback from Tyler Menton, the Tyler Menton. So I got the feedback video and everything. And he said, still, your physique is much better than it was in the last time you competed, but they still wanted me to be smaller. So in these photos, I think I was like probably 125, 126 actually on stage. And then in 6 days, we cut carbs. So I cannot carb up. When I carb up, I get really full muscle bellies and my glutes are popping. He also said I was too hard, which was interesting. So I think actually once you have full muscle bellies, it can make you look more hard, obviously.
Yeah.
So what he wants from me and the look that he told me he likes the most, which is I would never have thought that was my best look, was the 2022 Arnold where I got third and I was flat and depleted. So my coach and I are like, okay, we understand. We get the assignment. I went on stage 3 pounds later in 6 days. We didn't touch carbs. And I was, I wasn't completely flat because it was only 6 days, but I definitely was smaller and I wasn't nearly as hard. And that's what they wanted. So I was like, okay, let's see what we can do in 12 weeks, because I was like, that's the 12-week mark out from Olympia.
Wow. I am just blown away by your glute development. And I mean, this is something that, it just always makes you stand out. And they're so amazing that people question if they're even real because they're so incredible.
That's been something I have actually, I don't know if I want to say dealt with, because I always try and look at things with a positive outlook. When I moved from Canada to Michigan in 10th grade, and in 10th grade, they started a rumor that I had a fake butt. So this is when people try and say like, oh, how do you feel about this rumor? I'm like, this is nothing new. This is something I have dealt with in high school, in college, from when I started bodybuilding. So that's just the way. And really, honestly, it's my left glute. It's my left glute because the way it inserts into my leg. My left leg is smaller. When I pose on my right side, I swear if I only did my right side, no one would even say anything.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's just my anatomy, and it's been something that has been ongoing. And I'm like, yeah, I train my glutes, probably overtrain them. Yeah, I can say that was my fault, but genetically, I know that I have that glute develop. I mean, Marissa also, if you see my sister.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
She's got a big old butt. Like,
yeah.
No one can deny that for sure.
Yeah. Well, and with Marissa too, like you've been competing from what she described way longer than she had.
I'm sure she would say that.
Is that not true?
So I started the WBFF in 2018, and that is just she started in 2020. That was her first show, but my first NPC wellness show was September 20th.
Really fast, Linda. Hey, Linda.
Hello. Thank you so much. Wow, what a compliment from the absolute goat.
I know, right? So your first NPC show was when? In 2000?
September 2020.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So you just had like a rocket start. You just went.
That's what I'm saying. It was very fast and overwhelming. Yeah. And when I got my pro card and when I started, I was in general surgery internship. So nothing was actually making any sense in my life because I was working so much.
Right.
So I was just so sleep deprived. It kind of all felt like a blur. Yeah. And then when my head was above water and everything kind of made sense, especially reflecting back this year. I'm like, wow, I can't believe that I went through all of those stressful events and times and great success. And, was so sleep deprived because I was like not necessarily myself during all that time. I don't know how I pulled that off.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say, just observing you and, seeing how you handle like all the chatter and like, people talking about you. I mean, I think the three of us can all relate to this. We've all experienced this. So we're like in a very we're in a group that can all understand this. But when people see something that doesn't seem achievable to them, they are always gonna, try to figure out how it's just not, there's no way like a human can possibly achieve something that they can't comprehend themselves,
Yeah.
And this really, I think that, causes a lot of women and men probably to recluse themselves from continuing on with success, because it's really hard to deal with that. It's hard to handle that. You want to please people. You want people to like you. And so when you feel like you're doing something that people are not like, you're like, wait a minute, why doesn't everybody love me? Well, like, to see somebody just do their thing, beat to their own drum, and handle it with grace, that's what makes a really good role model. And I mean, with you, of course, you have this like phenomenal physique. You have this like these like glutes that are just in unhumanly amazing. And you continue and you plow through it and you do your thing, and you don't even need to defend yourself. You're just going to go out there and you're just going to kill it and let the results speak for itself. Right.
Thanks. I think I can say personally, I've never gone online and said something bad or, commented something nasty about someone, if I've been in a good place. I've never looked at someone's photo and been like, this is like nasty, blah, blah. On my best days, I'm doing the things that I love with the people I love. I'm not on Instagram being a troll. So whenever I see those comments, I think to myself, this person is either hurting, this person feels insecure seeing what I look like. And I get it, because I've definitely seen physiques where I'm like, man, is this person photoshopping? This is like insane. How did she get those legs or those abs or whatever? And I think to myself, that must be, how is that achievable? I mean, I won't go and say like, oh, this person is doing X, Y, and Z, but like, there's definitely times you see things online and you're just like, wow, what are they doing to look that way? And it's, it's Instagram. There's definitely, you're going to feel insecure going through everyone's highlight reels of their lives. So when I see people trying to troll and stuff online, I don't take anything positive or negative personally. I think the biggest lesson I've learned on Instagram is that people are going to either try and relate to some personal experience that they have had in their life, and not, if they don't know you personally, they can't possibly be judging you personally. They don't know what my day was like. They don't know anything about my life. So if someone's mad at me and they don't know me, or someone loves me and they don't know me, it's a reflection of themselves.
Right.
So I've just completely, I don't want to have an inflated ego, and I don't want to be suicidal. So I'm just going to stay neutral here and just know what I do and how I feel.
Right.
I think the one thing we could probably all agree on this is, one thing that the sport gives us many things, but one important aspect that it gives to us is it allows us to build thick skin, self-confidence. And we're like I before I was competing years ago, I used to worry about what people thought about me, and I would take a comment, I would, kind of, it would fester. But now it's just like, I don't care. Like, this is who I am, and take it or leave it. But that's the one thing that I've definitely gathered from competing. But Sunny, I have a question for you.
Yes.
It's a little off topic, but Marissa shared a really funny ritual that she does on stage when she's posing, and she tells herself a little chant.
Oh,
you don't know what her chant is?
I may know her chant, but she tells people,
look at it.
Right? She's like, you're welcome. Yes, I do know that she does that.
Okay, so do you do that?
So I will be completely honest. My posing and my whole stage presence has never been my strong suit. I don't know if you guys are familiar. I am so glad that you guys cannot scroll down far enough to find my 2021 Olympia posing video, because it was like it was.
Oh, I'm gonna find it. Hang on.
And not only did I not know how to pose, I was like nervous, awkward. I had no chance. I guarantee you, I had no chance. I was just like blacked out, trying my very best. I'm like, these Brazilian superstars were like posing like, like ballerinas, and I had no clue what to do. Anyways, now. The Texas show, my sister and Sandy, who was my best friend, were with me there, and I had a routine at prejudging, and it was okay. And
really fast, I found it. We got your 2021 Olympia routine.
No,
and then you can finish telling your story.
Yeah. Okay.
He's like, great. Thank you, Wendy.
Okay, here we are. Okay.
Who is she? Oh, look at baby Sunny.
It's beautiful.
Look at my walk. I didn't know what to do.
She's like, hey.
Yeah. I was just kind of like,
I don't know about that.
Right? No, I didn't. I was, yeah.
You look great.
Thanks.
I know, you do look great.
You have the best hair. Your hair is so pretty. Oh my gosh.
But you weren't a super seasoned athlete by this time. You were still pretty new.
It had not even been a year because Olympia was that early that year since I did my first wellness show.
Yeah.
So that was all. And I had going into that Olympia, God bless John Meadows. My coach passed away. So I was just kind of going in, had no expectations, was going against all these people that I had been fangirling for a long time and was going to meet them for the first time and be on stage with them. And I remember getting on the Olympia stage and seeing the lights and all of the camera, everyone in the crowd. And I'm like, this is the best day of my life. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Yeah.
I didn't realize that John Meadows was your coach.
Yeah. He was my coach for my pro debut. And then up until I got my Olympia qualification. And then he even called me to discuss my Olympia prep, what we were going to do the day that he passed away. So I felt really fortunate. He spent an hour of his last day of talking about what we were going to do for that prep. And he was so enthusiastic, always made me feel, I really do attribute my success, especially that first year, to him because of his mindset coaching. He was really a positive guy.
He really was. Yeah. I met him in the past and he was really sweet. But to go back to what you were saying, you were telling us a story about your sister and your friend Sandy, and you were able to go on stage.
I didn't have time. This sounds awful and no one listens to this advice, but I didn't have time to really come up with a new routine or pose it or practice my posing for these last two shows I did. And that's terrible. Don't ever do that. But my sister and Marissa were there. I did my prejudging routine and they obviously were very kind, but they were like, let's not do that at finals. Let's come up with something maybe a little more polished, a little more sassy, and also not so awkward and nervous. Please, for the love of God. So in between prejudging and finals, we came up with a whole new routine, and even the videos show it. So I practiced it, and I was feeling it, and that was my routine at finals at Texas, and I had never ever had that much fun on stage. Mind you, both of them were front and center in VIP cheering my name, and I'm looking at them the whole time. I'm like, is this what we practiced? Is this what we practiced? And
what did you do that? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. So at the end, they're like, thank you, Sunny Andrews. And then they were like, thank you, Sunny Andrews. It was really cute. So after that moment, I'm like, okay, I can have fun on stage, and went on to Chicago and prejudging and finals both. It was just, I had so much fun on stage. I'm like, okay, I finally get it. Being a bodybuilder, you're a performer. It is no longer for you when you're on stage. It is once that clicks and you just can work it and you know that you are an entertainer, and it's not about your cardio or your meals or your prep or all that kind of stuff. It's about you putting on a show and having fun on stage is a different game completely.
It is, and it's so hard for a lot of people to make that switch. I was one of them where I loved prep. I loved everything. But when I got on stage, I would be like, ugh. And you finally have to just I'm here to give them a show.
Yeah.
And some of us, it doesn't come natural, but just little things like what you did at that show to make you feel comfortable on stage, that really helps.
Yeah.
Backstage, I think for me, the way that I calm down, and I don't know if anyone who's competing might need this advice because it was kind of a game changer for me. I think I've always was like super intense about pumping up and is my tan perfect? And I'm like trying to practice my like routine in my head. And, I'm getting anxious and overwhelmed and I'm watching people go and it looks so good. But then the last 2 shows that I did, Texas and Chicago, I stretched and I had my headphones on and I relaxed. And I brushed my hair and I was just like, I am a diva living my life. And it was on stage and I felt like cool, calm, and collected versus like I wasn't going to go do a contact sport. I wasn't about to go tackle someone.
Right.
That's like, or I played sports my whole life. I have that competitive nature. I was ready to box someone out, but like, that's not bodybuilding,
Yes.
Right. By the time you go on stage, you're already exhausted because you just had this full workout.
Yeah, that's true. So I think that was like a really big change for me in having a more of a calming, peaceful ritual versus this really intense pump that isn't really going to benefit you.
Okay, but I have to tell you Camile's pep talk to me before I go on stage that helps, okay? She looks at me and she goes, Wendy, you're going to crush some dreams.
Yeah. I'm like, that's right.
Crush some dreams.
A few things, some of the words we can't say on here, but yes, go crush someone's dreams.
That helps too. But I do it with cool, calm, and collected. So crush the dreams, cool, calm, and collected. Right?
Those are not mutually exclusive. You can do them at the same time.
Thank you. I agree. Okay, so Sunny, I have some some hard-hitting questions for you because your last Olympia was 2022.
Yeah.
We're heading into 2024. Between then and now, have you been, doing your research on the women that have kind of been paving the path for the last couple of years? And second part to this question, so I have that part, and then the second part is, what are your goals going into the Olympia? Like, are you like gunning for it? Like, tell us, dish.
Yeah. So to answer your first question, have I been doing my research on the women that have stayed at the top and paving the way? Absolutely. I started with that, knowing who, if you're competitive in any sport, you should see, appreciate what you have and then see how it adds up to anyone you're competing against. And I see, to exclude anyone who's qualified for Olympia is dumb.
Right.
I know everyone I'm competing against, inside and out. I'm not going to miss that at all. And there's so many impressive physiques and women, what they're going to bring to stage, that if I were to not even research that, I might miss something that I didn't even think about. Like, oh, wow, she really does this great, or she does that great. So I have kept up with it more than most, and I will buy every live stream, or I'll go to every show that I can. If I have to work, like tomorrow, I can't go to Tampa Pro, which is sad because I wanted to be there. But I'll make sure I know everything about what's going on in the wellness division inside and out. That's if you want to be the best at something, you have to know your competition, and see how it's changing, see what they're doing, and even just see how they're portraying themselves. Because in a sport where you have so many eyes on you, it's interesting to see how. This is how the sport's portrayed. If you have the honor, really, to be one of the people who qualify for Olympia and a division where there's not going to probably be over 30 people. And just think of the hundreds or even thousands of wellness competitors. You have a responsibility to carry not just yourself, but the category in a really positive light. So I've watched people that have been at the top and stayed at the top do an excellent job at that. Going into the Olympia, one of my goals, to answer your second question, is obviously to place as high as I possibly can. I want to bring it. I know that at my best, I can do well. And I'm not going to ever say, I want this number, I want to do this, I want to win that, or like that, because that's just not who I am. I just want to bring my best, and I know that I can be competitive. That's like basically where I'm going to leave it with that. But my goal for this prep, and the whole reason I am so motivated and inspired, is because this is a redemption for me.
Yeah.
I had a really good kind of ranking and placing before, and then fell off. So for me to get back in there and redeem myself, not just for me, but to kind of have people relate to someone who maybe their life wasn't a straight trajectory and they had some difficulties like I did. and try to get back in there and do well again, I have that opportunity to kind of represent all of us. And that's what I really hope to do with this prep, is to be motivating.
It seems like you're blazing to that goal, and you have already redeemed yourself this season. And probably in your mind, you feel like you probably feel like you won already. And, oh my God, I hate when that happens.
Yes. You have redemption for sure.
Yeah.
I think that, like, to Camile's point, I think where you're going with this is, when you lose something, you appreciate it so much more when you get it back,
That's what it was. Thank you, Wendy.
You know what's so funny? So my Chicago Pro speech, I called my dad. I knew I was like, maybe I was top 2 because like they were switching us around. They moved me. They did not move me into the middle until the last quarter turn. So I was like, I'm just going to keep working. I'm not going to give up. And then right at the last second, they switched me. So I was like, maybe I'm top 2. I called my dad, who was the best public speaker I know. And I was like, I might win this show, Dad. He didn't even know. I didn't tell my parents I was competing. I was like, I'm at a show. I'm competing. I might win. I need a champion speech. Like I didn't even expect this. What should I like? So my dad and I just had a heart to heart for 30 minutes. By the time I got the phone, and it was amazing. One of the best phone calls of my life. Hang up. I'm like, gonna text from my coach, and he's like, you need to be downstairs right now. So I had no time to write my speech. But I had a great conversation with my dad. So then I got on stage and I won, and I'm giving the speech, and I was like, what did we talk about? I was like, what we said. And my dad, watching it with my sister, was just like, that was not what we talked about on the phone. I don't know what we actually just did, but that was not the speech that we had discussed.
So what was your speech? Like, I've never given a speech after winning a show. I didn't know that.
The thing that I wanted to say the most was that it, like you had just said, to your point, where it felt great to qualify for the 2021 Olympia, 2022 Olympia, win those shows. But then I didn't appreciate it until it was taken away from me. And I was like, no longer ranking. Everybody was like, Sunny Andrews, no one knows. Like, she's not going to do anything ever again. Like she's retired. And then after, I was just like, I knew what that felt like.
Yeah.
But before, I never knew it. I never knew how great that felt. So feeling again and then surpassing that feeling has just been like surreal. I'm like, I really, truly, I didn't believe that I was going to be able to do it until I did. And I don't know what part of me was the one that just like kept pushing me to go, but I'm like grateful that part was there. Maybe it was the people around me more than it even was me, to be honest.
That's the win more than the win.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's why I went into it, and I was just like, I'm happy. And I kept saying to my coach, I'm like, I'm so happy. It doesn't matter what happens. He's like, no, we're happy when we win.
And you were able to re-give your actual speech that you wanted to.
I love it.
Yes. So now it's
yes. Another redemption.
See, this is what we're here for. We are here for you to be able to have your platform to give the speech that you meant to give. And here you are. Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that. Thank you.
It's so cool to really humanize you in, live like this, because, you seem almost like non-human. You're just so amazing and incredible. It's like this, like person. And then, you're just so down to earth, and you're so easy to talk to. It's just really cool to see. I think that, it's one of the reasons probably why you connect so well to your fans, because as amazing and incredible as you are, you're going through stuff just like everybody else, and you really are so down to earth and just so easy to connect with. I think it's an amazing thing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think that's better than any compliment someone could give about my physique. I really do think that my favorite part of my job and of this sport is the genuine connections that I have made with people.
Right.
So it's so cool to meet different people, especially you two who have been so successful, and same to you. You're both so down to earth. You never really know what you're going to expect, but it's genuine connections over anything, I think.
Yeah. Oh, we gotta have you back.
I know. Well, we need to have you and your sister on, because you guys are both amazing women, but you're also really funny. And Sunny, congratulations on all of your success, your redemption, your journey back to the Olympia. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch you. I know there's a lot of people excited to see you back on that stage and that are rooting for you. And I know you're going to do extremely well. You are at that level.
Oh yeah.
I appreciate it. No matter what, I'm going to bring it. I'm going to bring it. I'm going to have.
And you're going to say, thank you.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Sunny, I want you to have the last word for the fans. Like, just give us, you know, and if you want to like shout anyone out, if you want to like say a few words, like you get the last word. Like, what would you like to share? It's you get the floor.
I just want to say thank you to everyone, especially everyone that watched today. But I have been so fortunate to have people that have been following me since I was just making like silly posts in like 2018. So the amount of positive energy and people don't really realize that there's a small little comment here or there can change someone's whole day. Like who knows the amount of times that it's just been one nice thing that someone has said that has propelled me in the right direction. So I want to say, I mean, there's a million people that I could thank, my coach, my family, everything like that. But right now, specifically, I want to thank the people that have I don't even want to call them fans. They've been people that have been just my friends online that, exactly, that have really helped propel me in the right direction. And I'm really grateful to have that platform and a large following because it's just been that much more positive energy. And I appreciate all of you. I'm going to return that as well to you in some way.
I love
Good job, team.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Sunny. Thank you all, everyone, for joining. And Sunny, don't go anywhere. We're going to say goodbye to you on the flip side also. But to everyone out there, athletes, fans, thank you all so much. We will see you next Friday.
Thank you.